I'm Cheryl Allison, and I'm a co-producer on the film. This is the first time I ever produced a film. I'm an actress, so I'm usually in front of the camera only. And producing is not for the faint of heart, I'll tell you that. I learned a lot. So let me tell you how this all came together. A year ago, literally a year ago this month, I attended the opening night red carpet at Dallas International Film Festival. And of course Kelly was there, and she introduced me to Angie. And I knew of Angie, I mean, who doesn't, right? You know? But I had never met her, and we hit it off. Like we had known each other our whole life, and we visited maybe 45 minutes, and before Angie left, I looked at her and I said, I'm going to find a project for us to do. We're going to do a film together this year.
She did.
And she was like, okay, yeah, sure. And so I had that in my mind. Mm-hmm. Now, the way the stars aligned, that's one aspect of this family tree. Another aspect was my co-producer on the film is named Karina Rush. And she's a lifelong friend of mine. And her son, Gabriel Rush, happens to be my godson. That's how close we are. And he's a wonderful actor. He's been in Moonrise Kingdom and the Grand Budapest Hotel. So he's a very well-known young man. And Karina and I talked about looking for a project to do where Gabe and I could play mother and son. We thought that would be a neat dynamic. So we were talking about that along the same time when I met Angie. So I the wheels started going, and meanwhile, here's David Keir, who is another lifelong friend of mine, and we went to college together. So David recently moved back to Dallas, and we were together one evening, and I said, and he's a wonderful writer, and I said, do you have any ideas about a relationship between a mother and son? And he said, well, actually, I've been throwing around this novel idea for a few years. And I said, well, do you think you could condense it to a short film and make it about 16, 15 minutes? And literally, I think it was within 2 months, we had a script in hand, and it was fantastic. And I sent it to Karina, and she said, let's co-produce this together. And you and Gabe will be in it. And then he had written an amazing female role that was another female member of the family, who was Aunt Dot, and we knew that it had to be Angie Bolling. So I called Angie to see if she was available and even interested. And when she was, we were so excited that literally David did some revisions, and we even enhanced the role and wrote it with Angie in mind. So then we brought another dear friend of mine I've known for over 16 years. His name's Dave Thomas. He's our director. He's from New York. He's an Emmy Award winner. We sent him the script, and he immediately came on board. So this was a film where, for me, as the producer, I had all of these people, all of these branches in my life of this tree coming together to work on this one film, and it was really sentimental and really neat.
Really amazing, and just meant so much to all of us to be part of this family.
Yeah, and then to add to that, when we read, I don't know how many of you have actually watched the whole film yet, but obviously the script called for a farm, small town. We needed an apple orchard, and I was like, wow. Well, it just so happens that I have a family farm that's been in my family since 1851, and it's in Eustis, Texas, which is about an hour southeast of Dallas.
20 minutes.
There you go. You know it.
There you go.
I unfortunately graduated from Athens.
Oh, I love that. Okay.
So
Well, thanks. I'm used to this.
Yeah.
I love that.
Now.
Well, I spent my summers on this farm with my Meemaw, and it was amazing. So now my aunt owns the farm and runs it, and so I called my Aunt Judy and I said, can we shoot a movie on your farm? And she was like, why not? And then I told her, she ended up being our location manager. We needed pickup truck. She found props for us, and then I said, now all we need to do is find an apple orchard. And she said, you know what, Cheryl, you have a distant cousin you never met, of course, right? She goes, and he owns an apple orchard right here.
Yeah.
So I called this guy up, who I think we're related somehow, and he let us use the apple orchard. So it just fell together. So you could tell that this film was It was meant to be made.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It really was. Well, Kelly came by to see me last spring, and she said, "Hey, do you want to go with me to DIFF?" And I said, I don't have anything playing. You know, how can I walk on the red carpet if I don't have it? She's You're a working actress in Dallas. So I went. It was great.
Just go.
I want you to meet my new client, she says.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. So I meet Cheryl. Cheryl and I hit it off.
Oh,
and she
God.
goes, "We're going to work on something." I'm like, okay. So 5 months later, she calls and she said, "Hey, I got this script. Now, it's not the thing that I was thinking of, but it's something else. And I'm going to send it to you." She sent it to me. It was beautiful, beautifully written. I said yes, and then we started going out to the farm and doing all this pre-production. I met Dave Thomas. It all came together, and it was one of the best, if not the best, film experiences I have ever had in my life. And I've been doing this for over 30 years, and I'm serious about that. And you know that, but because it was just such a wonderful family feeling, and she's a fabulous organizer, not just a fabulous artist, singer, actress, but she can produce. She's smart. She knows how to do everything. So she's pretty amazing. Watch for good things to come.
Oh, so sweet.
But it's true.
So sweet.
It's very true.
Yeah.
Though. You know.
It was great. We got the script, I think, in around August. We went into pre-production, and we were filming the weekend of October 14th, I think.
Mid-October.
And then we had a rough edit done by the end of the year, then a final edit, and we were just very lucky because of the subject matter, because it obviously deals with sexual assault and the effects of it. Moby allowed us to use his music. And so all of the music in the film is by, the amazing international artist Moby. So that was really incredible. And then our director, Dave Thomas, did the rough cut of the edit, and then the finishing edit was by Joel Plotch, and he's in Paris. And Joel is a very respected industry editor. He edited Nurse Betty, and does a lot of the Neil LaBute films, and he's doing Longmire right now, and so he put his finishing touches, and it was just one of those things too that was just meant to be, because Joel normally doesn't have the time to do a short film. He's friends with our director, and he looked at it and he said, "No, I've got to be a part of this." So we were really lucky. But it all started
with David.
With a creative
story.
seed here, yeah.
So I grew up in Texas, and I left 30 years ago, and I just moved back last year, and I've known Cheryl all of that time. And it was great to reconnect with her, and literally I was over at her house, and she said, "Do you have any stories you want to tell?" And I had been working on this story for several years that encompasses the story of Far From the Tree, but it was originally conceived as a novel, and it's a much bigger story. So when she asked me if you have any stories, I looked to that dealt with specifically with a mother and a son. I looked, at that work that I had been doing, and thought, where can I get 16 minutes out of these 200 pages I have so far? And I think the story for Far From the Tree, it's a nice snapshot of this family's life. It looks at a very specific moment and a trial that they have, and how they work to overcome, something horrible that has happened in their past. And it was a brand new experience for me. I'd never tried to write a screenplay before, but Cheryl, give it a try. And as a genre, it was really interesting to work in a new kind of genre instead of, a novel or some other format. And I'm just so amazed that Cheryl and her team and the cast and the crew could take the words that I had put on paper and create the vision that was already in my head. Everything about this film was a realization of what already existed for me, for the story. And any writer has an image in their head of what the work is going to look like. And when I saw Joel's edit of the film, I thought, oh my God, he is in my head. He has captured exactly what I wanted to achieve. And so I'm just so grateful that Cheryl asked me over a glass of wine.
Or maybe 2 or 3 glasses of wine, I'm not sure.
Right.
A bottle, let's be honest.
Yes. So
Inspired.
it's
That's how it came together.
It's an important story. For now, for me, I'm glad that we had the opportunity to reveal their story and hopefully reach people and have them think about the consequences of these kinds of actions and how people deal with them. And I'm just grateful I'm grateful for the opportunity to work with Dave, who did Dave Thomas, the director. He saw. One of the things I said to Dave was, thank you for honoring the space between the words, because as a screenwriter, I just put the words down. But he really saw the space in between the words and brought them to life, and I'm just so grateful for that.
He really did. He was wonderful.
And Angie, oh my gosh, I haven't met Angie. The film takes place in Texas, where I'm from, and I wanted to capture the sort of sensibility of Texas and the rawness and the strength of so many of the people that I have known from Texas, and specifically the women in my family. And so I wrote Aunt Dot's character before I met Angie. And then I met, and I didn't meet her until set, but again, you inhabited that character immediately. You already were, you were the kind of women that I grew up around, and it was.
And we enhanced the role once we found out. Yes. We made Aunt Dot became a bigger part in the film once we knew we had Angie.
Well, that's what made it so great for me, because as a working actress, I've been doing this a long time. Most of the time, I'm hired on a film. I'll go for a few days or a few weeks. And you go in, and there's already a family there that's established, and it's great, you do your work, but I was involved with this from the beginning. I was able to look at the script and read the script with Cheryl and with Dave Thomas, and we improv'd, and our first meeting, it was so much fun. And I was also able to, talk about my wardrobe choices and get Aunt Dot's. I was really involved in the creation of the character, and so I'm grateful as well that I was given that opportunity. It was so much fun, and David's writing was just great. I said, I know this character.
I think because everybody knew, in one way or another, I was connected to all of these amazing people, lifelong friends in different areas of my life, and then Angie and I feeling like a lifelong friend. So the communication was so good with this project. So I think that all of that pre-production work really paid off. Like Dave Thomas came down and we location scouted, so he had an idea of what he already wanted, and you don't get that luxury on a lot of short films, especially the low budget indie things, so that really helped, because it felt like just this family coming together going, let's have a good time. And we definitely wanted a Texas-based crew, because we wanted to have that feel on set, so we had some amazing people. We had Scott Hilburn and Samuel Baker were in our camera crew, and then Todd Jenkins was our sound guy, and he's fabulous. He's a well-known actor here, and so our whole crew was based here in Texas, except for our director of photography, Oren Sofer. Karina had produced a feature film last year called No Letting Go that I actually had starred in, and Oren was our director of photography, and he's an amazing young man out of New York University grad, and so he came down and was our director of photography and worked with Dave really well. But other than that, it was a Texas crew.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, all the camera equipment rented here, and gaffing equipment from Bolt Productions, and all of that.
Yeah, it was good. Good leadership. Cheryl really set the tone with getting everything together, so everybody felt well taken care of, and the communication was easy and effective, and it was a great experience.
You know what I think is neat too, and I'm glad you said it. It kind of sparked me to say this. So the crew and the cast, we all had this chemistry together, right? And we felt really close. But when I started talking on social media about producing this film, and I just started reaching out to friends of mine in the Dallas area saying, if you have any props, we're needing this, we're needing that. anyone who can donate food, because we have to feed the cast and crew, and it's so expensive. I cannot tell you the outpouring of love and support that the DFW community of my friends and all of our friends did, because we received gift cards to Subway. We had gift baskets of fruit and energy bars and Gatorade, and because it was hot, even in October, it was so hot that weekend. And do you know that we did not, as far as a producer, we did not have, nothing came out of our budget for that food. It was covered by the community.
So great.
And then the city of, the town of Eustis, my Aunt Judy's friends, they were like, we're going to make you stew this night, and now we're going to do some good old Texas barbecue for your last day of filming. And they would have it set up. And I mean, they treated us like we were A-list celebrities, didn't they?
Did. It was so wonderful.
Yes, and so that was really amazing too, the support we had. So this whole film just had this Southern hospitality thing going on, which was great. Which was really nice too, because it's a heavy subject matter.
Yeah.
So we had a lot to get in 3 days.
Yeah.
We shot it. Yeah.
It was wonderful.
Is there hopes to expand it further into something? Because there's obviously a kernel with what you were thinking of writing. Is there hopefully going to be more?
Karina and I talked about that, and we're going to see how it does in the film festival circuit. And if we should get enough buzz about it and interest, then we absolutely would consider it. Karina's been down this road before. She had produced a short film called Illness, that was the short film that was then turned into the feature film No Letting Go. And I was in the short film. I starred as the lead actress in the short film. So she's already been down this road on how to have a short and then get it turned into a feature. And I think especially when it's a film that has some type of social impact and it's making a statement. And obviously David has a lot more material for us. So it is something that we're very interested in doing. So we'll see how we're just starting our film festival run.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, the writer. How did you come up with this idea? I mean, is it based on anything that, like any news event, or is this all completely original from you?
It's not based on any particular event. It's certainly a current topic, but it was sort of an evolution for me of or coalescing of various ideas, and it's hard to talk about the genesis of Far From the Tree without talking about the genesis of the larger work for me, because this was a part of that larger work. And so there are some themes that I wanted to explore, and one of those themes was how is a family affected by events that are not their fault? Right. What can cause a rift between a mother and her child, and how can they overcome that if it's something that happened from the outside? So that was one of the themes. Another is the idea of forgiveness ultimately, and what are the limits of forgiveness, and what are you willing to forgive, and how do you live in the absence of forgiveness or in the granting of forgiveness? And so those were a couple of the things that I was thinking about, and also this it doesn't come through in Far From the Tree, but this notion of Genesis and birth and rebirth and sort of beginning again. And so honestly, the whole thing started because I was sitting in my house looking at the window at a frozen pond across the street from me. I was sitting at my desk and just thinking, these thoughts, and just started writing some ideas down. There are other elements of the larger story that come from other works that I've sort of been toying with over time. So the specifics for Far From the Tree, though, are a part of that larger story, sort of distilled down. Just thinking again about that mother-child relationship and how they work through something horrible that happened to them. But yeah, ultimately a frozen pond.
That's your inspiration.
Yeah.
Well, Arrowhead Walden, you have a
Right, that's
There you go.
Inspiration.
How old is Gabriel's character?
He is about 18 in the short film.
Okay,
So that's a
at
senior.
times he seems very vulnerable and younger
Yes.
than he is, but
Yeah.
he has this like great ability to like switch from like vulnerability
Exactly.
to kind of like
Yes.
tougher.
Well, I love that.
Exactly.
I love that you said that. And Gabe is actually 19 in real life, but he has a young boy
Yeah.
look. And so at first we were scared because he's growing. He's taller than me now, and at first the character I believe was around like 16 or 15, and we knew like, oh, Gabe can't pass for that. But we thought he could be a senior, which really gave a neat dynamic because you see that he is a boy in so many ways because he shows that lack of connection that he wants so bad with his mother that he's not receiving. But then you see him finally become a man and put his foot down, which causes her big breaking moment. And talk about, that is a rebirth there at the end when they're going off in this new normal that they're going to come together in. And so Gabe's performance is just absolutely beautiful, and it was very special for me to work with him in that capacity because I'm his godmother, but I'm not just his godmother like my friend said, hey, do you want to be the godmother of Gabe? I was her birthing partner with her husband. And so when Gabe was born, I was in the room and I saw that child take his first breath. And it always makes me cry, and I'm not going to cry here, but it was very intense, and so I've known that little one. I saw him take his first breath. So to be on screen, and he was in No Letting Go. We've done a movie before together, but our characters did not have any scenes together. And so for us to be able to play this mother-son dynamic was just very natural. And especially in the climactic scene at the end was just, there was so much emotion there because there's a lot of love between us, so that was really special.
So I guess talk more about putting yourself in that place because it's such a difficult topic. And for an actor,
Yes.
it must be rewarding, but also a little scary to kind of go
there.
right?
Yeah, it was. What I do when I'm doing a really dramatic role like that, and the role I had in No Letting Go was dramatic in a different way, but also like that, I do your basic prep that I think any actress does. You read the script, you see what every other character is saying about you. How are you described? And then I talked to women that have had, unfortunately, an experience with some type of sexual assault. I have friends that have gone through that, and so I had some really intense personal conversations with some people in my life, and then I wrote a backstory that I did not share with David because he's got his own story of this. But what I did, I knew I had to make Abby mine. So my backstory was 7 pages, single space typed.
It was as long as the screenplay.
It actually was, but I knew every single thing about her from when she was a little girl because we see her as a little girl in the film. So I needed to know what was that relationship with Drew. And all the way up through, and I write my backstories all the way up through to my very first line in the film. So I know exactly what was happening, and that really helped me find her. And then, also as an actress for like those scenes, I make a playlist of music that I feel relates to her, and I have a music background, and so it helps me get to these emotional places. So I had a playlist that was specific for Abby that I would listen to, and especially I listened to it that morning. I had it with me out in the pasture when we were doing that. But the pasture scene was difficult on all of us, on Gabe, Angie, and me, and we had to do it many, many times because technically it wasn't just hard on the actors. Technically, the crew is in a pasture, uneven ground. They're going backwards, following us, and the sun is setting, and there's all these different factors. My producer, Karina, was jumping up and down, making sure rattlesnakes were not around because we were going to be falling in the grass, and there's a lot of rattlesnakes in our pasture.
Right.
And so there was a lot going on, but I think we did like that final climactic scene, I think 6 times.
Yeah.
But and then you just start to get pretty tired, emotionally. But I do remember a moment when it was the last take we did, and they decided they wanted to do one more close-up of my character, just to make sure they got everything, because they were hoping, everything's in focus and all of that. And I thought, oh my gosh, a close-up, we've done it 6 times, I don't think I can do it. And I went to my director, Dave, and obviously we're very close, and I just said, I don't think I can do it. And I just hugged it. He hugged me, which then made me cry.
Yeah.
So then he was like, hurry up.
Let's go, right.
But, and then, it was just sort of organic. But a little behind the scene thing, if you want to know something kind of interesting, was that scene was not the last scene of the film, of the script. There was a scene after that was written by the tree, and it was sort of like Aunt Dot and the son and the mom being together, and then the mom decides, makes a decision to go do something, but we had already filmed that scene. But when we were in the pasture for that big confrontation, and my character has that breaking moment, it was written where she breaks, and then, they were going to call cut, we were done. But Dave was letting the camera roll, and I just, for whatever reason, felt like Abby is strong. She's broken, but she's strong. She's not going to stay here on the ground. And I just got mad, and I ripped the grass up and stood up and started to walk after my son. That wasn't in the script. Well, they kept rolling. Angie, of course, in character, in the moment, sees me, and of course she's not going to let her niece go off alone. So I started to break down and cry. Next thing I know, I feel Angie behind me lift me up, and we start hugging, and you see Gabe, Evan walking, and then we start walking after him, and Dave, our director, was like,
Yeah.
And so he had us do that every single time, and that became the ending of the movie.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. There was a whole scene after that.
But if they keep those cameras rolling, you have to keep acting.
Exactly.
You have to keep going.
You have to keep going.
And
so
it was wonderful
that
to be able
improv.
to. Yeah, it was wonderful to be able to do it because it all happened organically and it felt natural, and it was. I can't believe she did it as many times as she did.
Well, you did too, and so did Gabe, and so.
But it was great. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
David Keir was crying. Everybody on the set was crying.
I cried every time, so.
I think it was a safe atmosphere, and there was a lot of, a lot of trust on set, and in a safe atmosphere, and then.
Yeah, it was great. It was a wonderful day to.
So I'm curious to know what Abby's soundtrack is. You brought it up.
You know what? I had, oh gosh, I can't even remember now what I had. I know I had that song, Say Something. You know that one? Say something, I'm giving up on you. And several others. I had some Moby songs. I had, you know what? I cannot remember. I'm remembering the ones from No Letting Go too. But I had about 12 songs on there. I had some angry ones too. I had some really tough, kind of like Foo Fighters and things, because I had a song that represented each character and the way I would feel about them. I think I played some of those songs to you. Do you remember some of the others I did? But it's been so long ago.
You played the Gaga song, did you?
Oh, the Lady Gaga song that she actually wrote about her own sexual assault.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it's called If It Happened to You, and Until It Happens to You, that's what it's called. And so that was on there. So.
Well, I just think it's interesting you talk about a soundtrack. If you make a feature film or even with this one, you have a soundtrack that you can throw with it.
Yeah, well, for my character at least, yeah. But you never know. Then you never know that way. And it was amazing that we found music of Moby's that fit so perfectly. Because Moby does so much dance music and electronica, but he also has some really wonderful score type music. But his songs fit beautifully.
Yeah.
I guess my question, you've talked a lot about your improv process and a lot about how that awesome scene happens. But I'm wondering, there were so many awesome scenes, like when you just, there were so many awesome scenes, and there were so many awesome themes, especially like when you consider the apples and how they all sit together. It was I'm guessing that was probably your
That was
work.
all him.
Right, yeah, so no, it was not all
No,
of it, but
he had the whole apple, everything. That's your story.
right, so the apples were tied into that idea of birth and seeds and Genesis and the fruit of And this notion ultimately of whether or not the apple falls far from the tree, and in this case is another part of this larger story is the question of Evan, Gabe's character, his own notion of himself, thinking about where he came from, and is he far from the tree? Will he be far from the tree? And that's not something that gets explored here, but is a potential, idea for the bigger story, right? So that's why the apple was important to me, and the creek clearly was the division between Abby and Drew, and that's one of the things I said to Cheryl when I was giving her the screenplay was I said, I need an apple orchard and I need a creek, and I need a pretty strong creek. So that idea of division, physical separation, boundaries between the characters was important to me.
I think the way you described that and how they described how that scene you guys described how that scene just emerged.
Yes. And what's really neat too, because of the way he was talking about the rebirth and then the apples, our director, because he was able to come down and look at the location in advance, and when he looked at the creek, and the creek is pretty long, and it actually does divide the properties between my family's property and the next, he saw the exact spot that he wanted to do for this confrontation. But if you notice in that scene, we all start at the bottom of that creek in the mud, and then we work our way up out of it. It's 3 different sections. We're there, then we work up, we're with Aunt Dot, we work our way out, and then you come into that clearing of the pasture right before the big climax. And Dave, our director, said it was like a splinter working its way out, because it's been this unspoken thing. And I think for my character, I felt like she didn't realize it until her son pushed her, because you don't realize things you're doing, you don't want to admit it. And so I thought that was a beautiful concept, how they worked their way out like a splinter out of that.
And then you're exposed.
And then you're exposed with the sun coming in, which was great.
Vast expanse of sky and the wide plains of grass. They are just exposed.
The biggest thing I stressed out about was it going to rain that weekend? Because we had so many outdoor scenes, and I have to tell you, I have never looked at my WFAA weather app so much in my life, and I was just like, oh my gosh. And it did. Our first day of filming, it rained really hard in our first kitchen scene that we did, but our gaffer was so amazing, Landon Brands, and he had it where it looked like sunlight was coming through those windows, and I learned as a producer, that's why you do. If you want it to be good, you spend money on things like that, because if we wouldn't have, then we wouldn't have gotten the film made, or it would have looked really bad, So that was good. And it only rained for a few hours, and then we had it. But thank goodness that we had the weather we did for that pasture scene.
The visual composition on that is amazing, and knowing that about visual narrative specifically and how it was intended is fantastic. I want to know a little bit more about what you needed to do to get the character, because we've heard a bit on this side. I want to know about you.
Well, I do the same thing. I write a backstory for any character that I do, and I don't think mine was 7 pages long. It could have been longer. I don't know. But I'm from the South, and I know a lot of people with certain characteristics that I wanted to employ, and I think about that stuff. I write. One of the things that helped me get into character was being able to talk to the director and to Cheryl about wardrobe and what Aunt Dot would wear, where she was going, what things she was doing, and it's basically just trying to create that whole backstory, but bringing everything into it. I imagine where she would live, the kind of clothes she would wear, how she met her husband, and all those things, and what their relationship is. So, and her hairstyle. Right.
Oh my gosh, her hairstyle is fantastic.
No, I was watching the film.
I'm so glad.
It took me a minute. Because
it's always
we see you as like,
glamorous.
I
know.
Right, and so it's so gorgeous, and she's gorgeous in this film. And you know what I loved? She told me when she was talking about your costume, your wardrobe, and you said, "What do you think about Aunt Dot wearing her hair in pulled back in a ponytail?" Because it's like, it makes her feel youthful, and like probably like her husband told her, like, you look pretty with your hair in a ponytail. So she always wears it, and I just loved that image of her doing that. But you know, it was funny. I'm from Dallas. I'm born and raised in Dallas, but I've lived in New York and Los Angeles for many years. So my accent had kind of gone away. The minute I got with Angie, we were just talking and we were just doing all this. But I think my favorite scene was that just felt so natural. That was the laundry scene with her, and I thought it was beautifully shot. But that laundry, those white sheets coming out of a very dark scene before, and just the movements and the repartee between the two of them. And when we were first filming that scene, it was going so well, and all of a sudden the cows that are in the pasture at my aunt's, they all decided, oh, they're making a movie. They all came to the fence, and Angie turned around, and remember there were 5 cows that were just going like
staring at us, right?
And the director was literally like, we have to get them to go because it looks weird. Like they weren't moving. They were like extras. They were like, so it was so funny. But that was a really great natural scene between, and I liked that scene between Aunt Dot and Abby because it showed a little bit more of their relationship and how they banter.
Well, one of the things that she had told me too, that this character was really supposed to be a big sister originally. And then Cheryl you came up with the idea of making her an aunt, because when she's alone, she thought it'd be more sad that she would be
I didn't come up, no, what happened was it was an older sister, and we loved the script, and I read it, and I called Karina and said, what if the sister is an aunt? And Karina was like, well, I don't have a problem with that. I said, because Angie Bolling. I said, we got to use Angie Bolling. And I went on her Facebook, and we weren't even friends on Facebook yet. No, we were.
Facebook,
And I took her pictures off of Facebook and was sending them to David, to Dave Thomas. And I said, David, but I didn't know the name. I said, what if she was an aunt? I said, this is Angie Bolling, and RoboCop, and all the texts. And Karina was like, oh my God, she's beautiful. What a look. We have to have her. So then David, literally, I think it was before the evening, he sends a script back and goes, I think her name should be Dorothea. And we call her Dot. And I was like, and I immediately Facebook messaged her, and I said, I have a short script. Are you doing anything? Are you around? We're looking at this weekend. And you were like, actually, I am around. And I was like, when can the director get here and see you? Because it wasn't an audition. It was really just like a meeting.
It was a meeting. It was great.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. But I love what Cheryl said too, that when they thought about this sister, because Abby's lost her parents, and the thing that she's really alone and she doesn't have a sibling is more sad. It makes the character more sad, and so she's got this little aunt that's kind of the motherly and kind of hovering and seeing if she's doing okay and all that stuff.
What's interesting though,
absolutely, it was some.
I love the dynamic of Aunt Dot and Abby, and I know I'm so happy that we changed the character. But the reality is that the script itself didn't necessarily need to change very much.
Right.
So the dialogue and the sort of relationship and role that character had with her at the time younger sister is really still captured by Aunt Dot.
Sure.
And so the dialogue didn't change, but the dynamic that's created by knowing that it's her aunt there on screen with her really does change. It sort of takes the relationship to a different level.
Right. Yeah. I love the dynamic. I'm very familiar with it.
and it is. It's a whole different dynamic. That even at the end, when Aunt Dot comes up to comfort Abby, that's a huge thing, because that you could see it in the laundry scene that they didn't have that very much. Every time Abby would maybe start to talk about it, like he's in my head, I can't get rid of him. She's like, well, out of sight, out of mind, which is such a Southern thing to do. You just got to move on. Move on. So Abby had no one to reach out to, and then at that end scene, it's like everybody had a breakthrough. Evan had a breakthrough. Abby did, and Aunt Dot did as well, which was so much more powerful, it being an aunt than a sister. Yeah,
it was great. It was really fun. But I'm glad you didn't recognize me at first. But that's one of the reasons I wanted to kind of be, sort of be down for this, because, makeup is taken down, it's a real character, wearing the hair back in a ponytail, because most of my roles for most of my life have been, the pretty mom or the, the older ingenue or the, now I'm the active senior grandmother, just whatever, So most of the time people see me as, someone that's just a little more glamorous. So it was really nice. I mean, I'm older. I want to play these roles that are more real. And, that's another reason I'm really grateful to have been asked to do this role, because I'm usually not asked to do things like this. It's usually more character actors that people get into this thing where they think, oh, well, this is a character actor, but she's more of the other kind, So I'm very happy because it'll change.
Her close-ups were so amazing. Like in the rough edit, we didn't even know which ones to choose. They were so good because she shows it all through her eyes too. I mean, what an amazing listener too. Just in all your eyes, it's great.
Thank you very much. It was great. I loved it.
If we talk about the landscape being a character into its own, did you feel like there's no other place but East Texas that you could have shot this?
Now it doesn't seem like we could have done it anywhere.
Well, that area is such a unique area to begin with. I mean, you kind of got this closed off wall all around 175.
Exactly, and it just, everything about it. And, for me too, it was very emotional because I talked about the feelings with Gabe. But then, we're in this farmhouse. It's been remodeled, of course, but the outside has not been. It's the same farmhouse. The rooms are all the same. That, I was 4 years old, cane pole fishing with my grandmother. She's not here anymore, of course. And so to be in this farmhouse, I felt this film too. I almost felt like I was honoring this Allison farm that had been in my family since 1851, and these pastures that I knew, and with my grandmother. It was really surreal that way to be there and filming this. And I think she'd be really proud and think it was neat. So yeah, I can't imagine filming it anywhere else because of that. It was amazing though.
There's a sense for Abby that she is trapped by her circumstances, and she is separated from the choices that she would have made if things had been different. And so the sort of emptiness of that part of Texas speaks to the emptiness within her, and the isolation that it creates for her. That she is now isolated, both emotionally and literally physically, and just to me, one of the things that was really important was the way of speaking and the way of not dealing with issues that I have experienced growing up in Texas.
Too.
So there's a rhythm to the language, and there's a pattern to the not saying things that to me is Texas, because that's what I experienced when I was growing up here. And so capturing that feeling to me meant locating the film in Texas. And so it was a combination of factors. To me, it wouldn't work it would have to have a very different feel in order to be in another place. We could still have an orchard and a creek.
Right.
And you know what was
but
amazing?
the rhythm would be so different.
And when I asked him to see if he could write something about a mother and a son, I didn't know. It could have been mother and son living in a penthouse in New York. I didn't say write a country kind of, I didn't say anything. I didn't mention anything about what the conflict was, or I just said, can you give us something that would be, a product for Gabe and I to do, a project for Gabe and I. I thought it was also great that our director, Dave Thomas, is from the South. He's not from Texas, but he's from Arkansas. So small town in Arkansas. His aunts, he's got that whole feel of what Southern women, how they talk, how they deal with each other. And so he was able to bring that feel into the set as well. Karina is from Sweden. So she was all like, y'all are nuts down here in the South. No, but she's lived obviously in New York for many years, so she wasn't. But I think it was very important for this field that our writer, our director, and that you and I, as the women in this film, were from the South, in Texas.
I've been in Texas over 30 years, but I'm from Alabama originally, so it's
we can
all
hear
that Southern stuff. All that stuff, but it is really true. I mean, there is a certain way that Southerners talk to each other and deal with things and
Not deal with things.
and not deal with things, and it's
Yeah.
really interesting because people come from the north for the first time and they see this, they really don't know what to think, and you kind of have to coach them through it a little
Right.
bit.
Right.
Yeah. It's like, what is going on here?
Right. And I also love it because I don't know, with my mother, and of course if she sees this interview, then she'll be like, what? And I love her to death. No, but my mother, if she's going to call me up and tell me something, she has to go all the way around before she tells me, and I'm like, what? And then she'll tell me everything leading up to it. And it's a Southern thing, and I love that with Aunt Dot, because when Aunt Dot's trying to tell Abby that, Drew is back, she's got to say, well, I was in such and such store, they had those little
Work up
pecan
to it,
cookies
right?
that I love. And it's just like, you just want to read her because it's such a Southern
What is
thing.
it?
And
Right,
I loved how that was written,
It was really
So,
truthful.
Yeah.
It was real.
No, I was just going to say we probably need to wrap up soon. So.
Oh, okay. To me, like what you guys just elaborated on seems to me like the perfect. It seemed like Southernisms were in confluence. It didn't seem like one specific Southernism.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Good.
That's great. You're a girl who knows her Southernisms. That's good.
I've lived all over the Deep South.
Okay.
So,
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That you can know that. That's a lot of
Yeah.
people don't know that.
See, that's really, really good.
That's wonderful.
Really good, yeah. Well, that's what we're going
Can you
for.
tell where it's playing here?
Yes, so
And
we-
where you're going with it in the future?
Yes, so we have just started our festival submissions. So literally, we just started like this last month, and so Texas premiere is at USA Film Festival at the Angelica, April 30th at 7 p.m., a part of their Texas Shorts program. And we're so excited and honored to be at the USA Film Festival, their 47th year, and it's so historic. So I'm just really grateful that we're going to get to show it on the big screen there at the Angelica. And also this weekend, it's at the Julian Dubuque International Film Festival in Dubuque, Iowa. And it's a great independent film festival. It was listed as top 50 coolest film festivals by Movie Maker magazine. So our producer, my co-producer Karina, and our director Dave Thomas, they'll be flying to Iowa and attending that. And then they'll be coming here. So we're going to have our director, and Gabe is coming, and Angie and David, and so we'll have a lot of the crew and cast at our screening here in Texas. And then we'll see, because we don't have any more notifications coming up until May, so we'll see where we're going next. But hopefully
Keep you posted.
to a lot of places. Yeah, we're hoping.
Is
So
there somewhere we can follow you guys?
yes, we have a Facebook page, and it's Far From the Tree. So and I think it's a Far From the Tree short film. So and then we also have Twitter, Far From the Tree, and so you can follow, and we'll post everything on there as far as where we're going and what's happening with the film. Yeah, so hopefully a lot, and it'll
And
make an
the
impact.
website? Oh, wait.
It's the Facebook,
The
yeah,
Facebook.
yeah, because we don't have a specific website just for the film
Right.
yet.
Right.
We've got the domain name, so that will start next. Yeah, so
exciting.
we'll keep you posted,
That's great.
and hopefully make an impact and spark some conversation. That's what it is. We're not here to make a big statement about it. It's like David said so beautifully. It's a snapshot into one woman's experience. So, we're just hoping to spark conversation about it. And the one reason I loved how it was addressed in the film about sexual assault is because she knew, she was lifelong friends with the man who crossed the line with her and did not take no for an answer. And in doing my research, a majority of sexual assault cases are from people that you know. And the women or men or victims, they feel embarrassed, or that it's even their fault because they're made to feel like, did I lead them on, or did I, I was kissing them and I told them to stop, And so I think it's so important, and it is topical these days for men and women, from college, young people, older people. And so if we can spark a conversation and just get people to start to realizes that it shouldn't be a taboo subject, you know, then make a little difference. Yeah.
Are you gonna finish are we gonna have a novel to read, or?
At this
I would
point,
love to-
well,
I would
no.
love to read that book.
Yeah, there you go.
I've got him so busy.
Yeah.
I've got him writing another short script, and I've got.
Yeah.
I have to say, this has been so exciting for me. Now, just the process of crafting a screenplay and then seeing it be shaped into a film has been so exciting for me that it's changed the way I think about this story. And so I'm not sure that there'll be a novel. I'd rather write a feature length.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'd rather him write that as
Right.
well.
That would be great.
Exactly.
There are other novels to write.
Yes,
But
right.
this one, it is now visual for me, and I'm not sure that I could change that. I don't know that I could do that.
Yeah, that's great.
So anything coming up that you want to talk about? We can talk about what you're actually doing right now.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I am performing at Casa Manana in Fort Worth, so if you want to give a shout out to live theater, they'd welcome it. I'm doing The Little Mermaid, and we just opened, and we run through May 14th. And I'm playing Ursula the Sea Witch.
And she's great. David and I are gonna go see
It's
her
very
Friday
different
night.
than Abby, obviously.
It's a
Very
departure.
big. I've got pictures I can show you. The makeup's fabulous. So I'm having a great time doing that. Now, it's my 7th show at Casa Manana. They're really good to me, and I feel like my family out there. So it's wonderful, wonderful theater.